Hi, I'm here with Jarrett Arthur, self-defense expert. How did you get started into self-defense?
Well, actually, it was sort of by accident. I was in college and I had just graduated, and I moved back in with my mom. I was home for the summer, and I was training in the sport that I was competing in at the time, which was track and field, and she saw an advertisement for a self-defense class and said, you know, I really think it's important that you know how to defend yourself if you were ever in a situation where you had to, and I think you should take a self-defense class. And I have to say that at the time I was really not interested in doing it. It was really in that very first hour of training that I absolutely, completely fell in love with the physicality of it and also the empowerment of it, and the rest is history. I've been doing this ever since.
So you recommend that teens use confrontation when dealing with bullies. What do you mean?
What I mean is that using confrontational skills that are going to de-escalate. Just the fact that you stand up for yourself is so incredibly empowering, and that's really the name of the game. Because when you're being bullied, what you feel most, in addition to other things, is a lack of power, and that is what is so unbelievably detrimental to your confidence in who you are as a person. So knowing, you know what, this doesn't feel good, and I'm not just going to take it anymore. I'm going to stand up for myself, regardless of the outcome. I'm going to put my foot down. I'm going to say no more to this, and I am not going to accept this going forward, no matter what the outcome is and what that other person does. That is what is truly powerful.
So what do you think are the key components in trying to talk to a bully?
It's really all about how you present yourself and how you communicate. You want to make eye contact, but in a way that is not aggressive and that's not staring, right? But you absolutely want to avoid not making eye contact. So if I'm talking to you and I'm sort of looking down here, and that's not going to be effective communication. Your voice, your tone, your cadence, and your volume, that's really important also. Even if inside you're terrified, you want to fake it until you make it, which is what I always say. Because remember that bullies oftentimes look for people that lack confidence, that lack self-esteem. There's a big difference between, okay, well, when you do this, it really doesn't make me, that's not going to effectively communicate. And you definitely don't want to yell, I hate when you do that, I want you to stop. That's going to escalate as well. Just simply being able to state your wants and your needs, that in a very clear, concise voice, even tone, but also loud enough to have confidence, that's incredibly important. If possible, and it's not always possible, but if possible, you want to ask to have a conversation in private. And you don't want to be totally isolated, right? You don't want to be somewhere where if things don't go well and the confrontation escalates, there isn't anybody around that's going to be able to help. So I'm not talking about isolating, but I am talking about getting the bully away where they're just themselves, and they're not going to be fueled by other kids or social pressure that's going to cheer them on to really prove themselves in the face of you communicating what you want and what you need. What I always talk about is using I words versus you words, and what I mean by that is saying, I feel attacked or I feel embarrassed when you do these things, instead of you make me feel attacked or you make me feel embarrassed. There really is a big difference. Having emotions is not bad. Getting emotional interferes with your ability to effectively communicate. So being able to breathe in the moment is something super duper important, even if it means that in the middle of you communicating, you have to stop for a second, take a breath, and then continue. It helps you stay grounded, it helps you stay relaxed, and in doing so, it helps you to effectively communicate what you want and what you need in that situation.
So do you think we're becoming a nation of victims with all the talk of passing laws and videos of showing kids crying?
I think that the overwhelming message that we're sending teens these days is that they simply do not have the power to be in control of their life, of what other people do to them. And the ways in which we do this is what kids are being taught at home and at school, which is that if you're being bullied, say no, walk away, tell an adult. By no means should you ever do anything to stop the bully beyond that, you have to rely on somebody else. Say no, walk away, tell an adult. This is what we're feeding teens. This is the message. School administrations, the message that they're sending with zero tolerance policies is that it's wrong to defend yourself, it's wrong to stand up for yourself, and if you do defend yourself, even against somebody who's trying to physically harm you, you're just as guilty as that person, which is crazy. It's crazy talk. But that's the message that we're feeding is kids don't have power. You don't have power. You don't have power to change your situation. You simply have to either ignore it and hope that it goes away, or you have to increase awareness. And I think at this point, everybody's aware of bullying, right? So I love the awareness campaigns, but they come from an idealistic place. If you look at history, bullying has been around forever. It's been around forever. It's not going anywhere. We even see bullying in the animal kingdom. It's not going anywhere. Why now, all of a sudden, are there many more bullies and many more victims of bullying? And I think the answer is because years ago, we gave kids the power to do something about it. If you were being bullied, that's on you. That is your responsibility. You stand up for yourself and you put your foot down and say enough is enough. Now that's not the culture that we live in. Now the culture that we live in is you cannot stand up for yourself. You have to rely on somebody else who is oftentimes not going to help the situation and potentially even make it worse. It's not to say that victims of bullying shouldn't seek help by notifying adults and notifying parents. I'm not saying that at all. Simply what I'm saying is that something really dangerous is happening when we take power away from kids and we ask them to rely on somebody else and tell them that they don't have any control over their life. And in that way, I do think that we're becoming a nation of victims, and I think there needs to be a very dramatic shift to get that power back. I think that's going to really help a lot of the big-time negative consequences we see with bullying now. Bully victims that are suffering from big-time mental illness issues, anxiety, depression, and even suicide. This is new, right? Like, kids never used to take their own lives. This is new, and it's coming from a place, I believe, of powerlessness, of helplessness, and really, truly, the only practical way that we can combat that right now in the moment is to give power back to the kids, to empower them to do something about it.
Sometimes things go wrong and do get physical. Could you show us some techniques?
Yeah, absolutely. But before I do, I just really want to really nail home the message, which is that if you can avoid having to physically fight back and getting into a physical confrontation, you really want to do that. I will go to the ends of the earth to avoid having to actually physically fight back. So that is really important to keep in mind. Using those verbal confrontation skills and even your body language, by walking away if you can, by telling an adult, these are all things you want to do if you can avoid actually having to physically fight back. But there are lots of times where those things don't work or you don't even have an opportunity to do so. And in those moments, it is unacceptable for anybody to be able to put their hands on you in a way that does you harm or is intended to do you harm. And for that, you need to learn how to actually physically defend yourself. And that is what I am definitely going to show you right now. Are you ready?
Definitely.
Okay. So before we even start, a few important things to know about physically fighting back. One is where to aim, and when you're talking about where to aim, you want to aim for places that's gonna pack a punch, right? So vulnerable areas. And when we're talking bullying, the main focus really is on the nose, the center of the face, and the groin. Those are the two best places to strike in bullying. What parts of your body can you strike with? Well, you can strike with any surfaces on your body that are hard. So you can strike with your knuckles, you can strike with the heel of your palm, you can strike with your elbow, you can strike with your knee, you can strike with your shin, you can strike with your feet, the bottom of your feet, right? Your heel or the ball of your foot. These are all good places to strike. You want to get into what we call a fighting or a defensive stance. That's so that you stay balanced, so you can generate power, and so you can move easily and quickly. And that is going to be all about staggering your feet. So when I'm in my stance, and when you get into your stance, you want to take your dominant leg in the back. If you're right-handed, most likely your right leg is gonna be dominant. That's like me, so that's what I'm gonna do. If you're lefty, then you're gonna do the opposite. So I stand with my feet wide, left to right, with my right leg in the back and my left leg in the front. All 10 of my toes are pointed forward. I tuck my chin, I bring my shoulders up, I bring my hands up in front of my face. And because this is about de-confrontation, de-escalation, I have my hands open. It's the only reason why I don't have my hands in fists. Fists say I want to fight, hands say I want to stop. And that's the most important thing. From the side, check my feet out, check my hands, elbows are in, chin is tucked, I'm nice and protected. This is going to be your stance where you're going to operate and send all these strikes. So, top 2 strikes to send, one's going to be an upper body, one's going to be a lower body. For the upper body, palm strike. You're going to be making contact with the heel of your palm. I do teach punches, but for most people, a palm strike is going to be sufficient, and it's also the safest because when you throw a punch, it's pretty easy to injure your hand. So palm strike works. You're going to be making contact with the heel of your palm. You're going to get into your stance. Today, I'm going to be using my trusty pad holder assistant and punching dummy, Mark. So Mark is going to come up and he's holding, so keep in mind that when I demo these, he's holding the pad on his chest. It's the only safe way to demo, but remember what I said? Where these strikes are going, they're going to the face, right, for palm strike. So it's all about generating power, whatever hand you send it on. And I'll show you from a different angle, but the more I can rotate my body, the more power I have. So if I just use my arm and I send it out, not a lot of power. You want to rotate your body, hitting with the heel of your palm. So from my left, again, this is going to the face, even though I'm showing it to the chest. My left, my right, and I can send 2 at the same time. Left, right, 1, 2. From the back, so you can see the rotation. And from the other side, just so you can see the other angle. Notice how I'm exhaling? That's really important too. It forces you to breathe and it generates more power. So that's the upper body, palm strike delivered to the face. For the second strike, lower body strike, I'm going to teach a front kick to the groin. So remember I said 2 best places to strike, face and groin. This is so that you inflict enough pain in order to buy yourself time to escape and to get to someone or somewhere safe and to nullify the threat, to stop this bully from doing what they're doing. So for front kick to the groin, you're actually making contact with your shin bone, anywhere from the bottom of your knee to where you tie your shoelaces. So you don't want to kick with your toes, and if you can help it, you don't want to kick with the top of your foot. It's just simply not as strong. You want to use this nice, strong shin bone. So again, from your stance, and Mark's helping, keep in mind I'm striking to the pad for safety because I'm pretty sure Mark doesn't want to get kicked in the groin. No, he does not. So from here, this time I generate power not by turning my body and rotating, but by driving my knee up and sending my hips forward. That's how I generate power. So the knee comes all the way up and the foot whips out. Show it fast and then I'll show it slow. That's fast. Slow, knee is gonna come all the way up and then I whip the foot out, hip goes forward, and I recoil it right back into my stance. So again, medium speed, knee up, whip it out, bring it back. Notice how I have my hands up in front of my face the whole time? That's in order to protect. These are some of the common scenarios that you find when kids are dealing with bullies, some of the common attacks and assaults, and I'm going to teach you how to address them. The first one I'm going to cover is a choke, and this is no joke, right? So on average, you have between 5 and 10 seconds if you're really being choked before you're unconscious. That's not a lot of time. So when we're dealing with a situation like this, you need to address the immediate danger first, which is the fact that you can't breathe, you're not getting oxygen, and possibly you're not getting any blood to your brain. And you have to address those first. And then you decide what you want to do after. So I'll talk about that in a second. So here's how you address the actual choke itself. If it's a choke coming from the front, as the choke comes on, and it's probably going to be aggressive, so he may be pushing you backwards, I'm going to step back in order to brace myself and shoot my right hand up as high as possible. I'm going to glue my ear to my arm so that I squeeze his hand. I'm going to explode to my left, which breaks the choke. And from here, notice how my arm stays up. Now I'm going to clear the hands, which opens up his face, and I can send combatives If I think that I can walk away from this position, I may just simply turn and push, get in my stance and walk away. If I don't think that that's actually going to be the scenario, I'm going to deliver combatives for here. I can deliver an elbow if I want. I can turn in, I can give those palm strikes that you learned already, and maybe even a kick, and then I'm out and away. So that is choke from the front and how to defend that.
Hey, you think you're tough?
So another common attack is a headlock from behind. This is when somebody is standing directly behind you and they apply a headlock. So the headlock comes on from here, and you need to again address the immediate danger, which is that you're having the blood supply cut off from your brain and possibly air supply as well. So I do this by going to where the hands are, and I'm going to perform what's called a pluck, simply to create some space so that I can breathe. Turn your head that way. So when I pluck, I'm taking my left hand up first and then my right. I'm going to where the hands are connecting, and I'm making an explosive downward movement. From here. From here, now that I'm down, I have the ability to breathe and I have blood supply. And even if he's going to continue to apply, so he can even lift me up from here, and I'm still not getting my airway cut off. From here, I'm going to punch my shoulder into him to create a little bit of space, just simply straight back. I tuck my chin all the way so my head is nice and narrow, and that little space that I just created with my shoulder punch, I'm going to come out the side. And then if I need to, I'm going to continue with combatives, those palm strikes, that kick to the groin, and then I'm out. A bear hug is another common attack that we see bullies employing against victims, and that is essentially just a grab, either from the front or the back, and it could also be with your arms free, so the grab can happen underneath your arms, or the grab can happen over your arms. The defense, for the most part, stays the same in terms of the basic principles, which is that you want to drop your body weight in order to stay grounded. So why does somebody bear hug you? Well, really for one of three reasons. One would be to lift you up and carry you somewhere. One would be to lift you up and dump you on the ground. And one would be to simply hold you and let somebody else hit you. So we address all of those at the same time. So as the bear hug comes, we'll do from the front and we'll do arms caught for now, and I'll explain how it changes. So when the bear hug comes from the front, from here, right now you see my arms are caught. I want to not only drop my body weight because it's going to prevent him from picking me up, at least for a short second, right? So I drop my body weight into my stance, my feet are nice and staggered. And from here, I want to prevent his hips from coming to my hips, because he can't lift me from here with his hips back, but he can lift me if he brings his hips forward. Now he can lift me from there. So I drop my body weight, I use the heels of my palm to check his hips. I bring my elbows in nice and tight. So even if he tries to close distance and bring his hips to mine, I still have this distance. From here, I'm in a position now where I can send some combatives, send some strikes. So I'm going to knee from here, I may even kick from here, and as soon as I feel the hands open, I'm going to push or punch, create that space, and then I'm out. It's pretty simple. Drop your body weight, check the hips, strike to get out. If my arms are free, it's much easier. So bear hug from the front, arms are free. I'm still going to do the same thing by dropping my weight, but now I have my hands. So for adults, we teach to go for the eyes. For bullying, we teach to send the head back. So my hands go underneath the chin. I'm just going to drive him back. From here, I can knee to the groin, which is exposed, and then send those strikes. From the back, nothing changes. So I'll show you from this angle. So from the back, arms caught, right? From here, I'm going to drop my center. I'm going to drop my center of gravity. Step up, so that you're more square, which you probably will be. I drop my center of gravity, I let my arms come forward, which kind of stretches him out a little bit, and I have my arms. Guess what's available? If I shift my hips to the side, it's groin. So I'm going to strike to the groin. I can go the other direction, strike to the groin. I can even send elbows to the midsection, and as soon as those hands break, clear the hands, elbow behind if I need to, unless he's already down or backing away, and then I can always continue in with more strikes if I need to. If my arms are free from behind, this is the last scenario, I do the same thing. I drop my weight. This time I'm going to actually push his hands down, which gives him less power from here. And then I can send elbows if I need to. I can also, by the way, foot stomp, right, to the top of the foot. Not as effective as, say, an elbow, but it might be just the amount of force that you need to get out of it. So from here, and then faces open, elbows, elbows until the hands break, and then I turn in and continue if I actually need to do that, or walk away, run away, go and get help if I don't. Okay, this is a really bad position. When we're talking about personal safety and self-defense, whether it's with a stranger, whether it's with a bully, being on the ground, without a doubt, is one of the worst places to be. And when you're on the ground, probably the second worst position to be in is this, which is mount, with the first being flat on your stomach and somebody on your back. This is a bad position to be in, but there actually are some pretty simple moves to get out. And the biggest thing that you need to know from here is that you're going to need to reverse this position in order to get up. It's possible that they're going to be, possible and likely that they're going to be sending strikes from here. Let's not worry about that for now. Let's just simply worry about getting out of this position. First order of business is I have to get him to what we call table, which is to a position where he's on all fours. This has to happen so that his body weight can go in the direction I want it to go in. Because if he's sitting all the way back, I'm not going to be, I have nothing to do to get out of this from this position. So first order of business from here is a combination of a buck where I send my hips up as high as possible. I can also help that table by grabbing him and pulling him when I buck. I can grab his arms, I can grab his shirt, I can grab his head, but I'm gonna buck and I'm gonna pull him over into this table from here. Immediately from this position, and you can think about a table, right? If I have a table, 4 legs, he's on the ground. If I take away 2 legs on the same side, what happens to the table? It tips over. That's exactly what we're gonna do right now. So we're gonna take away 1 back leg, I'm gonna take my foot and I'm gonna trap his foot. If I don't and I go to buck, he's gonna do something called post with that leg. So as I buck, he posts that leg out, can't get him over. So I take that option away. I go around, I trap it. I have to trap the same side arm, and there are many different ways you can do it. I'm just gonna reach up and I'm gonna grab it and I'm gonna trap it to me and I'm gonna hold it. From here now, he's ready to go over. All I have to do is add a little bit of a buck again. So my hips are gonna come up explosively to the ceiling and watch what happens to him. He's just gonna come up and over. From here, you're up and over. Most likely you're gonna have to send a strike or 2 in order to get up and out. You can send to the face, you can even send to the groin. As soon as, we call it the guard, as soon as the guard opens and breaks, you have your opportunity. If it is not, if his feet are crossed, I'm just gonna continue to strike until his feet are open. I press the knees all the way out so that I don't get kicked when I'm on my way out of that position. So from here, we're gonna close face, right? Bring them in, head, trap an arm, buck, strike, strike. So in closing, really important to remember that if you can avoid a physical confrontation, you want to do so at all costs. What are the ways you do that? By using your words, by using your body language, by telling somebody, by walking away if you can, by really using those effective confrontation and communication skills. But at the end of the day, it is unacceptable for anybody to put their hands on you in a way that does you harm. And for that, when that happens, it's time to fight back, and you owe it to yourself to stand up for yourself, to make sure that nobody puts their hands on you in a way that hurts you or harms you, and that's what these physical techniques are for, to do so in order to buy yourself an opportunity to get away safely and to get yourself away from harm. I'm Jarrett Arthur, and thanks for watching Teens Want to Know.